Aita for telling my daughter's boyfriend that she is cheating on him. I will try to make this as short as possible. My daughter is 27 years old and she has a 6-year-old son. The father of my grandchild has never been in his life. I'll let my daughter and grandson live with me for the first 4 or so years of my grandson's life because I wanted to help them the best I could. I allowed her to live with me rent-free under the provision she go to school or do something productive with her life while trying to attempt to provide for her child. My daughter hated living with me because I imposed rules upon her, so she jumped into a relationship with a man 15 years older than her and moved in with him. My daughter still did not get a job or take any steps to improve her life so she could financially support herself and her child independently. She has basically been using this man for his money, his home, his support, and he is madly in love with her. My daughter has always been somewhat of a cunning, manipulative, cold-hearted person who uses and has used multiple people throughout her life to her advantage with complete lack of regard for their feelings. This man has been nothing but wonderful to my daughter and grandson, and it destroyed me when I found out she has been having an affair for the last year. I felt bad for him knowing that my daughter has been cheating on him and doing nothing but using him this whole time, so I told him that she has been cheating. Long story short, he threw my daughter and my grandson out, and they are now living with my mother. My family says I'm an asshole and my loyalty should have been with my daughter. This has caused most of my family to stop talking to me. I'm really torn as to whether I'm the asshole here or not. Help? Not the asshole. It amazes me how many people think that a cheater deserves loyalty. You guys freaking gilded this? I love you, Reddit. I'm humbled. Thank you. Not just a cheater, but a parasite. That poor guy was taking care of a woman and her child out of love. Not just a cheater, but a sociopathic parasite. Yes, if Op's understanding is true, but there's a good chance we have an unreliable narrator here. How many people see their children with a lot of clarity? People are blowing up about how I'm defending a cheater. I wasn't commenting on the daughter's actions in this scenario, which were clearly shitty. I'm saying we should be skeptical about a parent saying this about their child, and not jump on calling her a sociopath. Unless you're leaving some important details out, which would be my guess. Not the asshole. Letting a shitty person take advantage of a nice person just because you're related to one and not the other is so arbitrary and lazy. Agreed. Especially those rules Op imposed when she lived with Opus. Some rules make perfect sense, but others might just be part of the kind of reign of terror that turns clever people into arch manipulators. Op said in the original post and in a comment she wanted daughter to get a job and or go back to school. That's what I thought he meant about having rules. Basically be useful and support yourself and daughter. Yes, I think most took it away, but it seems odd all family would be upset at this. Maybe Op thinks she was cheating and said something without proof because Op was upset over them leaving their house. A lot could be left out that could make Op the asshole. That's why it was said, unless you are leaving a lot out, not the asshole. Not the asshole. It sounds like you have done everything to help her. You did this man a favor, whether he sees it RN or not. As far as your daughter, you can't help those who can't help themselves. And certainly not when she refuses to accept the help you can offer her. To quote Queenie from Fantastic Beasts, she is a taker. You need a giver, honey. Raising a kid only goes so far until you become an enabler instead. In this thread actually, cheating is good. Not the asshole. Daughter is coming on 30, but hasn't put in the slightest bit of work into her own life. Fuck em. Yeah, I think it's funny we regularly see, should I tell friend SO is cheating? And everyone says yes. Now someone did it, and they are ridiculed for it. This has to be the top comment. Stop screaming at me. Shut the fuck up, and take my upvotes. Not the asshole. My ex's brother told me, and I'm forever grateful to that guy. My ex's ex told me, and I was so happy she did. I'm curious, how did you react to that? To me it would sound like extra suspicious regardless of the relationship you two and them had. To me it would be a hell of a headache. YAA, I would definitely need some sort of evidence for that one. From my own experience it's one of those where there's one permanent person, the one the partner is cheating with, and then the cycle of girlfriends. The other girl is usually someone the partner would never get serious with, but uses for the fun, the sex, etc. So chances are there's actually 3 girls in the equation. Then again, that's just my personal experience, and if I ever met my ex's girlfriend, I'd say the same to her, or at least warn her about what my ex is capable of. Sounds like your loyalty lies with your morals. Stick with it, and don't hurt anyone on purpose. BC they are doing the wrong thing. I think you forgot to vote, not the asshole. I don't think they forgot. Looks like more general advice rather than a judgment. This isn't an advice subreddit though. Tell that to the other 90% of this sub that gets lost in new info. Do you know beyond a shadow of a doubt she was cheating? Yes. As in you caught her, or she told you? Don't know why I get the feeling that nothing short of yes I've seen the penis go inside would satisfy your beyond a shadow of a doubt expectation. Not the guy you responded to, but I understand the question. We've heard ops inference. My daughter cheated without hearing the observations that led to that inference. If crappy rom-coms have taught me anything, it's that there's a huge gap between observation and inference. People are calling you out for not caring for your grandson, meanwhile your daughter is gambling his well-being on a daily basis by living in a house built on sand. Not the asshole, but it's a lose-lose. Everyone sucks here. It sounds like you are omitting some key information, but from the way you describe your daughter, you did not tell this man out of the goodness of your heart. You told him because you were projecting your own feelings about your daughter onto their relationship. I can't imagine any mother who independently liked and appreciated their daughter thinking that a relationship with this kind of age gap would only have issues brought upon by your daughter. Are you completely blind to the fact that he has all of the power in their relationship? It sounds like living with you was never really an option for her, however you paint it. She is of course an asshole for cheating, unless he was abusing her. Then the vote should be info, not ESH. How does that make OP the asshole in this situation? OP may very well be an AH, but in this case, they are not the AH. Who cares about OP's motivations? OP's daughter has been in an affair for the last year, and OP told the victim in this scenario about the infidelity. Even if OP was doing it out of pure revenge for the daughter moving out, it was still the thing that needed to be done, the right thing. ESH, only because the way you describe your daughter leads me to believe you never liked her much. I know she is a grown woman, but damn that's cold. I wonder how she was raised honestly. NTA for telling someone they were being lied to, but you out the asshole for just the descriptions of her makes her sound like a sociopath, and coming from a parent it's cold. Her daughter obviously isn't a good person. She is a manipulative asshole who really doesn't care about making her son's life that much better. But it's cold to say the truth. OP is an asshole for calling an asshole an asshole because she's her daughter? Yes, that is my impression as well from the way the mom described her own kid. BTW the kid learns those morals somewhere, or worse does it due to low self-esteem. Not entirely true. I've met a decent number of friends who have siblings that are just rotten eggs. All the other siblings are normal people, but there's one self-centered rebel who is always a victim, and the reason they're not as successful in life is because of someone else's actions. One sounds very much like OP's daughter, and she's like 41 now, where it's a man's job to provide for her, and if they break up, she's entitled to compensation for her time and loss. She sure as shit didn't learn it from anyone in her family. Low self-esteem or not, if she's refusing to better her life and be a literal parasite while disrespecting the man opening his home to her and putting him at risk for STDs, that's still completely on her. She's a grown-ass adult. In no way are her actions justified. I don't have kids, but how on earth do you understand this as a parent? I mean, where does it come from? Quote, my daughter has always been somewhat of a cunning, manipulative, cold-hearted person who uses and has used multiple people throughout her life to her advantage with complete lack of regard for their feelings, end quote. I was thinking the same thing. Honestly, this sounds to me so much like what parents on Parents describes their children. This sounds like how incels think about women in general. Either this is some Jerry Springer level trash family or this is entirely made up. I'm thinking since that show is also made up, none of this happened. NTA, I feel bad for your grandson, but your daughter sounds absolutely selfish. She's 27. Her being manipulative is not your fault. If she was a teenager, or even early 20s, I can see how that argument may stand, but not at 27. You let them live rent free, and because she wasn't happy with the rules of your free, she left, seemingly without considering her kid. Then she goes on to cheat on the sole provider for her kid. She doesn't seem to care about the child at all. My thoughts move towards becoming the guardian of the kid, but it's not always viable for everyone. NTA. Blood doesn't give an auto pass on being a douche. What daughter was doing was wrong, and deserved to be left for it. I feel for the child being uprooted, but I don't believe that poor man deserved to not know for the child's sake. Also, people saying OP is at fault for the actions of her grown daughter is beyond absurd. It is possible to be raised right and still do shitty things. The old blood is thicker than water routine doesn't really account for the event most of the blood sucking leeches you tend to encounter are related to you. And yes, two people with identical upbringing can have wildly different psychological profiles. Gotta account for personality and sociopathic leanings. Conclusion. Not the asshole,